Claire Whitmore was a 28-year-old American tourist chasing adventure, and Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor was a 47-year-old Arab billionaire hiding a double life. When their secret romance collided with a disputed pregnancy, it ended not in love, but in murder inside a Spanish villa. In the spring of 2019, Sheikh Khalid Al-Mansoor lived in a world very few people could imagine. At 47 years old, he had built his fortune on oil and real estate, with investments stretching from Dubai to London and Paris. He was known for his extravagant tastes, custom sports cars, yachts moored in the Mediterranean, and luxury villas scattered across Europe. Yet beneath all the wealth and prestige was a man restless and searching for something more than endless business meetings and social obligations. It was during one of his trips to Spain that fate placed someone unexpected in his path. Claire Whitmore was 28, a tourist from California traveling through Europe on borrowed money and big dreams. She was not wealthy, nor was she part of Khalid's elite world, but she carried an energy that drew attention. When their paths crossed in a coastal resort, Claire was captivated by the Sheikh's presence. He carried himself with confidence and power, surrounded by an aura of mystery that was unlike anyone she had ever met. For Khalid, Claire's innocence and curiosity felt like a refreshing contrast to the calculated relationships he was accustomed to in high society. Their connection was immediate, a spark that quickly turned into private dinners, late-night drives, and secret rendezvous. Khalid showered her with gifts, designer handbags, jewelry, and the promise of travel to places she had only seen in magazines. For Claire, this was more than romance. It was escape from the struggles of her ordinary life. She imagined a future wrapped in luxury and security, and in Khalid, she saw both a lover and a rescuer. What began as a chance meeting between a sheikh and a tourist was about to spiral into something darker, a hidden love story that would soon carry deadly consequences. Khalid's life was carefully divided into compartments. On one side, there was his family in Dubai, his wife, children, and the traditions that defined his public image. On the other side, there was Claire, hidden away in quiet apartments and luxury suites where no one from his world could see them together. To the outside world, he was a man of discipline and control, but behind closed doors, his secret life was growing more complicated. Claire was intoxicated by the excitement, yet she began to feel the sting of invisibility. She wanted more than late-night arrivals and promises of a future that never seemed to come. At first, Khalid tried to smooth over her doubts with gifts and trips. He took her on private flights to the French Riviera, introduced her to the kind of lifestyle most could only dream of, and spoke of possibilities without ever committing to them. But the more he delayed, the more frustrated Claire became. She began pressing for recognition, asking why he could not introduce her to his circle or stand by her openly. To her, love without acknowledgement felt empty. To him, acknowledgement meant the collapse of everything he had worked for. It was during this fragile period that Claire discovered she was pregnant. The news changed everything. For her, the pregnancy was a blessing and proof that their relationship was real. She imagined that this child would bind them together and finally push Khalid to step into the light. But for Khalid, the thought of an illegitimate child outside his marriage filled him with dread. It threatened his family's honor, his empire, and the respect he commanded. What Claire saw as hope, he saw as danger, and the gulf between their desires began to widen into something irreparable. The revelation of Claire's pregnancy sent their already fragile relationship into chaos. For her, it was the moment she had been waiting for, the turning point that would transform secrecy into permanence. She imagined Khalid holding their child, finally acknowledging her place in his life, and perhaps even giving her the stability she had always craved. But the reaction she received was the opposite of what she expected. Khalid grew cold, distant, and calculated. Instead of joy, he spoke of risk, scandal, and the destruction of everything he had worked to build. In his world, a child born outside of marriage was not a personal matter, it was a potential public disaster. He tried to solve the problem in the only way he knew, through money. He offered Claire large sums to quietly end the pregnancy and return to her life in America. He promised to support her financially, but only if she agreed to keep the matter private. To him, it was a simple solution: eliminate the threat, bury the secret, and move forward as though it never happened. But to Claire, his offer was an insult. She believed the pregnancy was proof of his love, not a shameful mistake to be erased. Her refusal only deepened the divide. She told him she would keep the child no matter what, and if necessary, she would expose their relationship to the world. For Khalid, this was betrayal. For Claire, it was desperation. The arguments grew louder, more volatile, and filled with threats on both sides. Each believed the other was destroying their future. The man who once represented safety now felt like a stranger to her, and the woman who once seemed like a thrill became to him a dangerous liability. Their love had turned into a war over control, pride, and survival. In August of 2019, the tension that had been building for months reached its breaking point. Khalid arranged to meet Claire at a secluded villa on the outskirts of Marbella, Spain, far away from the curious eyes of his family and associates. The setting was luxurious, with marble floors, sweeping balconies, and views of the sea, but inside its walls the atmosphere was anything but serene. It was meant to be a private meeting to settle their dispute once and for all, but instead it became the scene of a violent end. Neighbors later told investigators they had heard raised voices, shouts echoing into the night, and the sounds of objects crashing against walls. What began as a heated argument quickly spiraled into chaos. Claire had arrived expecting resolution, perhaps even reconciliation, but Khalid had come determined to regain control. The clash of their opposing expectations ignited into a physical struggle. When authorities entered the villa hours later, the scene told a brutal story. Khalid lay motionless on the floor, his body marked by blunt force trauma to the head. Blood stained the edges of a broken glass table, and pieces of shattered decor were scattered across the room. Every detail pointed to a struggle that had escalated beyond control. Claire was discovered in a state of shock, her clothes smeared with blood, her hands trembling as she repeated her claim of self-defense. She told investigators that Khalid had flown into a rage when she refused to terminate the pregnancy, and that she had fought for her life when he attacked. Yet the sheer severity of Khalid's injuries cast doubt on her version of events. To the authorities, it was unclear whether she had defended herself in a moment of fear or unleashed her anger in a fit of violence. The case quickly became an international scandal, drawing headlines from Dubai to Los Angeles. The image of a wealthy Arab sheikh, dead in a Spanish villa at the hands of his American lover, fascinated and shocked the public. As the trial began, the courtroom turned into a battlefield of narratives, with each side presenting starkly different versions of the truth. Prosecutors painted Claire as manipulative and driven by rage. They introduced text messages where she threatened to expose Khalid if he abandoned her, messages that hinted at blackmail disguised as desperation. To them, the killing was not self-defense but a calculated act born from rejection and greed. Claire's defense attorneys countered with a very different picture. They described a young woman swept into a world of power she could not control, kept hidden like a secret and then discarded when she became inconvenient. They argued that she had lived under constant emotional pressure, fearing abandonment and silencing, and that the fatal night was the result of her being cornered. According to her defense, she had not gone to the villa to kill Khalid but to plead for her future, and violence erupted when he became aggressive. Then came the twist that shifted the entire case. Medical records revealed that Claire was not pregnant at the time of Khalid's death. Earlier tests suggested she may have been, but by the time of the confrontation, no pregnancy existed. The revelation struck like a hammer. Had she lied about the pregnancy to hold on to Khalid? Had she suffered a loss and refused to accept it? The uncertainty made her story less believable, undermining her defense. What had begun as a tragic tale of love and betrayal was now tangled with deception, leaving the jury to question where the truth truly lay. The verdict came after weeks of tense testimony, conflicting evidence, and relentless media coverage. The jury ruled that Claire was guilty of manslaughter rather than premeditated murder, acknowledging that the killing had not been carefully planned but rejecting her claim of pure self-defense. She was sentenced to a lengthy prison term in Spain, far from her family and the California life she once knew. For her, the transformation from carefree traveler to convicted killer was complete, and the dreams of luxury and love she had once clung to were replaced by prison walls and a lifetime branded by scandal. For Khalid's family, the damage could not be undone. His wealth remained, but his reputation as a respected sheikh was shattered. Whispers spread across social circles in the Middle East and Europe, each retelling of the story tarnishing his image further. He was no longer remembered solely as a powerful businessman or influential figure, but as a man destroyed by his secret affair. His family struggled to shield his children from the truth, yet the scandal could not be contained. In death, the life he had worked so hard to build was overshadowed by betrayal, secrecy, and disgrace. As for Claire, the pregnancy that had ignited their conflict remained a mystery. Some believed she had fabricated it to secure her position in Khalid's life, while others speculated she had once been pregnant and lost the child without coming to terms with it. The truth was buried with the lies, arguments, and violence that consumed them both. The case stood as a chilling reminder of how unchecked desire, pride, and fear can spiral into tragedy. In the end, it was not business rivals or powerful enemies who brought Khalid down, but the woman he once believed was his greatest escape.